Hello, everybody. I'm Patryk Lange from Institute of Transformational Presence Poland, Instytut Transformującej Obecności, and warmly welcome Alan Seale, our guest today for this conversation, and Joanna Maria Zawada. So welcome in our interview. And the topic for our interview with you, Alan, today is manifestation process. Quite soon, we're going to start our first training, or I would like to say retreat, which is based on transformational presence manifestation process. This is how I call it. And we would like to talk about this today.
Wonderful.
And yes, as there, well, we talk a lot about manifestation. What is it? A lot of people attaching the theme of manifestation. What is the manifestation process, Alan? How do you understand it?
So manifestation in its essence is about alignment of energy. It's and it's alignment of energy within yourself, and then alignment with that project, the vision, the dream that you're wanting to manifest, and then yet a step beyond that of how does that fit into the larger unfolding in the world of what's happening in our time. And so the more we bring all those things into alignment, then things begin to flow. So in essence, transformational, or in essence, manifestation is about alignment of energy.
All right. So you said, Alan, that this is a alignment of the energy, and I'm quite curious. What are the origins of this? The whole idea. Why?
Mm.
When did this happen?
So indigenous cultures all around the world have something that, in whatever way they may talk about it in their culture, but in the Native American cultures, it's called a medicine wheel. And the medicine wheel was it's a series of 8 houses or pie pieces around the wheel. In the medicine wheel, they're called houses, which was really their way of project development and management in those ancient traditions. And in those 8 houses, it takes you through a process, in essence, asking a series of questions, because the manifestation wheel process is, in essence, asking a series of questions to bring that energy into alignment. So I first learned the medicine wheel through the Lakota Indian tradition, which is the Plains Indians in the central part of the United States, and what is now the United States. And um, as I learned about the manifestation wheel and worked with a man who was a very important teacher for me early on in my journey, Rick Jarrow. And Rick Jarrow was a really interesting guy because he was a deep student of Native American studies, but he was also a Sanskrit scholar teaching at Columbia University, and and he was deeply involved in Hindu studies as well. So he brought all this together in this amazing way, and his knowledge and understanding of indigenous cultures around the world. And so I studied the manifestation wheel first with him, and I worked with it for a number of years in the form in which he taught it to us. And the only thing I ever was able to find written about the manifestation wheel was like 3 pages in one of Rick's books. There was nothing there, because the manifestation wheel, or the medicine wheel, was very much a part of their oral tradition. It was passed down by speaking from generation to generation. So the more I worked with the manifestation wheel and brought many dreams to life for myself, I realized this tool is so incredibly powerful, and we need to bring it into modern times. We need to update the language, because the language was very archaic. It was getting difficult to understand what each one of those houses was really about. So I kept the essence energy of each of those houses, yet brought it into 20th century, 21st. It was 20th century then when I first wrote the book, but 21st century language, and making it accessible for how we could apply it to projects, to dreams, to visions in our lives today.
Thank you so thank you so much, Alan. I would like to add something because Rick Jarrow is it's really close to me. 13 years ago, when my coaching career started, and I wanted to change my so to speak career, but actually was way of living. I met Rick Jarrow's book, which is translated into Polish, which is called Antykarriera, which there's a book about how to create a real connected, the career connected with your heart. And I remember that this book was also based on this Lakota medicine wheel. And now
Yes,
it's really amazing.
he talks about it in that book. Yeah, and just a very few pages, but yet I mean, it's so much the basis of all of Rick's work. That's amazing. I love that
Yeah,
story.
yeah. And this book actually changed the course of my life. I
Mm.
remember myself flying somewhere in a flight with dressed in suit in my old life. It was a kind of business meeting, and reading on my mobile, this book. It was a time 13 years ago when mobile was really small, and I was just really, trying to read this book, and it was just so absorbing for me, and actually changed my life. So please pass my great gratitude to Rick if you still have touch, if
Yeah,
you're still
we're
in touch.
in touch occasionally, and that's a wonderful story to hear. Mm.
Mm.
Thank
And
you.
I'm curious, Alan, because you said about alignment of energy, and there are many people talking about manifestation, like Joe Dispenza, like some others, and there is also kind of alignment they are talking about. So, what is special about a Lakota wheel and the alignment that's happening there?
Let's start with saying it's about energy, and it's about recognizing that there's nothing magical about manifestation. There's nothing actually what we call a mystery, or we call something like that. In a way, there's nothing magic about that. It's because everything came into alignment in that moment, and the door opened, or things began to unfold. It's recognizing in our lives that manifestation can be a very intentional process, but intention is incredibly important, because it's not about making something happen. It's manifestation is, making something happen is like manipulation. But manifestation, on the other hand, is about creating the best possible conditions so that this new life, whatever that is, the project, the vision, the dream, so that that can unfold. So in transformational presence, one of the ways we talk about or describe transformational presence is it's about tending the garden. That we can't, when you plant a seed, there's nothing you can do to make that seed happen. When you have a vision or a dream, if you set about trying to make it happen, you can do all the right things, but that becomes a sort of like a force, a manipulation process, as opposed to it's also about who are you being. How are you aligning yourself with that? How are you aligning yourself with something bigger than you? So this alignment of energy is about recognizing the tending the garden. It's sensing and feeling. It's also recognizing that the vision or the dream is the leader. You are listening and following what it's asking you for next. And then if you're working with a team or an organization, then your job as the one with that title of leader is to translate that guidance or that request that you're receiving from the project itself, translate that for the people that you're leading and bring them along. And then there's another step that goes with that, because it's also helping them learn how to listen and sense and feel to the project, to the vision, to the dream, because the vision is the leader. And if we trust that there is an intelligence within that, name that however you want, but an intelligence within that project, within that vision, within that dream, there's something that wants to happen there. If we trust that and listen and follow it, it will show us the way. It will come in its own time. We can talk about the houses of the wheel. Um, it won't necessarily come in your time. However, the more the energy comes into alignment, things just start to happen. As I often used to say when I would teach this program that you're about to lead, on the first day we talked about how you've all experienced times when you wanted to create something and you did everything right and it just didn't happen. And you've had other experiences where you had an idea and something happened inside of you and things started clicking and you realize, oh my gosh, I left out half the steps and it happened anyway, because that was that alignment of energy. It's recognizing that it's not just about ticking things off the list. There is a whole presence aspect here. How are you showing up? How are you bringing yourself into alignment with the project itself and with something bigger than you?
I love,
Yes,
yeah,
unbelievably beautiful. Yeah, yeah. I also love the way you express that, Alan. And also, for me, it's really obvious that you not even know about it, but you really feel how this technique, or so, I don't know, maybe there's a better word, like technology, even almost, like it works. How it works.
It is a technology, Patrick, and that's a really important piece, because we think of technology having to do with machines and computers or whatever. Technology is energy, and there is a technology of energy, and there's a technology of the human energy system. There's a technology of how the world works as energy in motion, and that is what we're tapping into.
And listening to you, Alan, I feel like we always, all the time, all the moment, all the minute in our life, we are manifesting things. But as I understand that this technology, if we know how to use it, allows us at least partially or maybe more to manifest things consciously. Because sometimes probably we manifest things and we're surprised that this happened in our life, but actually, in the end, we manifested that even if we don't like it. I don't know if you agree with this.
Yeah, no, that's hugely important what you're saying, because we are, in fact, manifesting our lives and manifesting the world around us in every moment by our choices, our decisions, our actions, our attitudes, our perspectives, how we view the world, how we interpret what's happening out there becomes the energy we project into that situation. And so especially when things are happening around us that we're not so happy with, the first place we need to go is inside to say, so what's my part in this? Not from a guilt or blame place. It's not about that. It's just about saying, whoa, so what needs to shift inside of me to begin to turn this energy around? It's very much where we are in the world right now with so many challenges. And the more we keep looking at it as challenges and, oh my God, what's going to happen? That's the energy we're putting into it. Instead, we acknowledge, here's the challenge. Now, what is it asking us for? Therefore, what is the energy that I put into that?
So what I really loved, Alan, this novelty in a manifestation wheel, that we are following the vision, or we are following the energy of the project, and then we align it on different houses of the wheel. So what are the houses that create this alignment so powerful?
Okay, so there are 8 houses in the manifestation wheel, and they're also tied to the directions of the 4 directions of the compass. And so the first house is the house of intention, which is in the east, because when you are in Native American ceremony of any kind, no matter what the ceremony is about, you enter the ceremonial circle through the east. And if you are in the Native American tradition, that there is a ceremony always around sunrise and sunset. And so there's this incredible alignment with the energy of the earth, the energy of the sun, the energy of the cycle of how life works as energy in motion. And so we step into this first house which is the house of intention. And that's about stating very clearly, what is it that you want to manifest? And that may seem like well, of course, but here it is. This is what I want to do. Well, it's not always so clear, because it's about learning to, or being able to state it in a very succinct way, in a very clear, simple way. This is the project, to name it. And it's also about looking at intention. So what is your intention in this manifestation? What is your intention about your involvement in it? And most importantly is, what is your intention of who you will be as you step into this project? So there, it's about intention on several different levels, and getting clarity about what the project is and how you're stepping into it. And then we move into the second house, which is the house of peace. And again, people often think, well, of course I'm at peace with it. It's what I want. Not always the case, because there's so often, at least as has been in my experience, there's so many things that I realize this is the next step. This is where I want to go next. And you know what? That means I'm going to have to grow. That means I'm going to have to make a shift, or I'm going to have to evolve in some kind of way. There's a gap that I'm going to have to get across. And so in this house of peace, it's about, we have to make peace with the project, make peace with who we are going to have to be, make peace with what may be different after this project is manifested. How does that feel? If it's a really big project, it could very well be that there's sort of life before this and then life after this, before and after this manifestation. Life will be different when this is manifested. Am I at peace with that? It's also in this second house of peace about recognizing the partnership between soul and ego, and that this partnership is a huge piece of transformational work, presence work in general. And we probably don't have time to go into the whole big process of that right now. But what's important here is to recognize that these are the two fundamental aspects of our being, and they must work together in partnership. And so when we talk about a co-creative process, the soul and the ego is our very first co-creative partnership. That if we are not in peace inside of ourselves, in any area of our lives, then there's some conflict going on inside. There's some challenge between the soul and the ego. There's some challenge in a part of us that gets in the way of the energy being purely aligned. So there's a big piece of work sometimes to do here in the second house. It's not only about, am I at peace with the project? It's, am I at peace in my life? Am I in a place where I can show up in the purest and highest form of who I am to move forward in this process? So lots of layers in that house of peace. The third house then is the house of energy. And so here we're looking at, what is the energy level for this project? Is there excitement? Is there somebody more than just me who wants this? And what is it going to take to build the energy and get momentum going? And not from a place of, we got to make that happen, but what needs to be put in place? We're tending the garden again. It's about creating the best possible conditions. What needs to be put in place so that this energy of the project can begin to grow? And when we look back at that house of peace, another thing that happens in that house is making sure that there aren't any energy leaks, which is what those conflicts inside of us are. Making sure there are no energy leaks, so that when we get to that house of energy, we're starting to build momentum and forward motion, that there's not leaks of energy anywhere. It can start to build and go. The fourth house then we come is guidance. And guidance is, we're listening to the future. We're letting the project, we're letting the vision, we're letting the future show us the way to get to it. So we do a big piece of work in that fourth house of going to the future and visiting this time when the project has fully manifested, and letting it teach us, what did it need to get there? How was that process? What was it asking for from us? What were the resources that were needed? Many pieces, but letting the future guide us. And then we come into the fifth house, which is the house of empowerment. And this house is, again, it's important on so many levels. It's about asking, first of all, how is this project helping me to become the best person that I can be? And how is it empowering every single person whose life it will touch to also be the best person that they can be? So we're looking at, who am I becoming as I'm working on this project? How does that feel? Does that feel good? Does it feel like, I'm doing stuff that doesn't feel good to me just to make this happen. That's a problem. So, and what's happening with the other people around? What's the energy in this team? What's the energy in our with my partner in the project, or just the energy between the project and me? Is it moving us forward? Does it feel in alignment? Does it feel ethical? Does it, does it feel like, wow, this is a really powerful piece? So empowerment. How is this project going to empower everyone whose lives it will touch? And because then we're talking about empowerment, and we're talking about ethics in a sense, this house is about integrity. And therefore, who are you in integrity? What does it mean to be in integrity with this vision? And what does it mean to be in integrity with yourself with this vision? How are you in integrity with all the people that are involved in this vision? So it's integrity, it's leadership, it's empowerment, it's all this is coming together. And it's also the last house, the fifth house, the last house before we come into the house of action, the sixth house. So in a sense, this house of empowerment is our kind of last chance to make sure everything really is aligned before we move into action. So then we come into the sixth house of action. And as we come there, it's about, again, going to the future and letting it begin to show us the path. To recognize that action, in large part for us, is about continuing to align the energy. It's about continuing to listen. It's not about making something happen. It's as if I get my assignment and I do the assignment, I take the next step, because we're entering into this kind of partnership. Manifestation is a co-creative partnership between you and the vision itself. And so the vision becomes your partner, and the vision is the leader. And so we're listening to that all the way through. And so we go to the end when it's already been accomplished. We've already done that in the house of guidance. We go there again. And then we start to walk backwards through the project, letting each step of the way show us, oh, this is what's been accomplished at this point. These are the resources that we needed. These are the people that I worked with. This is the things that we had to do. And we work our way all the way back, in effect, to writing our action plan. We're writing the action plan becomes not about figuring it out. It becomes about letting yourself be shown, letting the project show you. This is how it is. And there are often surprises in there. One of the powerful things about going to the end, and not just going to the end in your mind, but no, we actually walk this as a path, so that you literally walk to the future. And we stand in that time and space, and then we begin to walk back through the path to it. One of the powerful things is that it's quite common that we come to a certain place on the pathway. Could be different for every project, but a place where we realize, oh, it's really hard here. There's a big challenge. It's all falling apart, or whatever that is. Something is really hard. The great gift of working in this way is that, well, then we just walk back to the future and ask, how did we get through that time? What was important for us to realize? And then we take that awareness back with us to that moment on the path. And we say, okay, now I understand. And when we get to that place in our lives, as the project begins to unfold and it gets hard, now we already have some sense of, yes, but here's how we can meet it. Here's how we can walk on through. So through the house of action, we make an action plan following through that process to be shown, and that begins to come together. Let me also say, it's not necessarily a to-do list. It is a general kind of set of understanding of, okay, by this point, these things have been accomplished. By this point, we need to be focusing that, make sure that this is accomplished, and so forth as we go. The first 6 houses of the wheel are, well, the first 5 houses are the sort of preparation part. And then we come into action, and that's the doing. The 7th and 8th houses then are, they unfold as we are in that action process. So the 7th house is the house of surrender. Surrender this is, for many people, the first time that they grasp a much larger concept of surrender, because so often we think of surrender as giving up, as if it's a passive act, when in fact surrender in its highest form is a co-creative partnership. It's letting ourselves, giving over to something bigger than us, giving over to that bigger vision, to that intelligence that's guiding it, giving over to what wants to happen and letting it show us. And so in this seventh house, at every step of the way of going through the manifestation process, it's constantly listening and sensing and feeling, and what's wanting to happen next. What is it showing us as the next little step, the next piece here? It's also surrendering to the bigger energy in your life, how this fits. How does this project fit into your life? How does it fit into the bigger timeline of your company, of who you are in the world? So we're beginning to look much more at this particular vision or project within a much larger context. It's not just something you want to manifest, you want to create. There's a reason for this in the bigger picture of how the world is unfolding in this moment. And then we move on into the last house, which is the house of legacy. And to recognize that legacy is, we tend to often think about legacy as about the money that we leave, the estate that we leave to the people who are still here after we're gone, or the business that we've created, the big house, the big bank account, whatever those things are. Yet here we're talking about energetic legacy. That what is the legacy that we're creating by how we are going through this project? What are we showing to the world about who we are and about what's important, and how we lived our lives, about how we paid attention to what is wanting to unfold in our world, and we partnered with that to bring it to life. So these last two houses are taking us into such an enormous context for whatever that vision is, to understand it not just as, oh, I just want to make this happen. We're going so far beyond that. And this is also continues to be about the alignment of energy, because now we're aligning with the whole world around us, not just this is what I want, this is what we want, this is the product we want to create, whatever. Everything has to fit within that larger context. Well, that's kind of a whirlwind trip around the wheel, but it's such an incredibly powerful process, and I get so excited about how this works, because it's how I live my life. It's how I have brought everything, transformational presence, and this work now that's all over the world has happened simply by aligning the energy. Just keep following it. Let it show me. I didn't have a vision to try to make any of this happen. I just started seeing pictures and hearing invitations, and at one point started saying yes to what I was being asked for, and things just kept unfolding. My job was to stay aligned with that bigger picture, and this work is all over the world now.
Mm.
Wow.
Thank you
Wow.
so
Beautiful.
much. Yeah. And what struck me is exactly what you said, like how it all works together: transformational presence in action, and manifestation wheel, and soul mission as well. It's like all is built in each of them, and vice versa. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of preparation on alignment first, like being part, that it's so huge before we step into the doing part of it, which is and then these two last beautiful houses that you mentioned: surrender and legacy. Sounds like
It's
a life project.
Well, it is, and it's about how we live our lives. I mean, that really is how we live our lives, and it's has always been so moving. It in a multi-day program, like I think you're going to lead for this manifestation wheel. So these last two houses come on the last day, and it's so moving for the participants to begin to see how they are making a difference in the whole world, in the greater consciousness by what they're doing. And the, not responsibility as in heaviness, but the responsibility. We have the ability to respond to what we're being asked for, to what is wanting to come into the world through us. We are each here for a reason. There's the soul mission part. We have a purpose. We have a mission here. And it's not to build a business. It's about who are you going to be. My soul mission is I liberate and empower. And each of you, have your own soul missions. That's the driving force. It's the fuel. It's the passion that drives everything that you do. And the more you're living your life in alignment with that, and then recognizing that we are coming back to your question at the beginning, Patrick, about how we are constantly manifesting the world around us. We are constantly contributing to the mass consciousness. So how we live our lives matters. It matters how we live our lives every single day.
Excellent, excellent, Alan. Thank you so much. 5 years ago, there was a moment in Poland when I joined this training led by you. And I remember, don't remember which particular house, but I remember the exercise, and I had a almost like vision, that there will be some kind of wooden hut in the future and a team. I was in a moment that I just wanted to live as a single wolf in a forest, completely fed up with teams, working as a part of bigger business and bigger structure. And I remember it was quite irrelevant at that moment to the project I came for this training. And 5 years later, today, I'm sitting in a wooden hut and being a part of Transformational Presence Institute, which is, again, I am a part of the team, but it's completely different energy. It's driven by love, it's driven by presence, and there is some kind of, completely different energy. And I would say the same as you said. This is about who I become, and this is very much about what is about. It is very much about my life now and the legacy and everything. So I truly believe that I'm a kind of living example of how this manifestation process works. And this following this story, I have a question. When you observed actually people who came while you've been leading those retreats or trainings, workshops, whatever we call it, what kind of people come to you, and what they might expect? Where is the trigger that people could think, hey, maybe this is for me?
In coaching, there's this whole thing about find your niche in building a business. And I've always kind of felt like, please, just coach and see who's coming. And now you found your niche. It's the people that are drawn to you. And yet, if I come back to that question and to then your question, who are the people that are drawn to this work? They're people who want to make a difference. So they're everybody. They're artists and healers, and they're CEOs, and they're small business owners, and they're parents and teachers and therapists, and they're everybody. They're doctors, they're therapists, they're everybody. But the thing that they have in common is they want to make a difference. They want to somehow leave this world better because they were here. They may not say it in exactly those words, but people don't come into this work just because they want to get something done. That's not it. It's recognizing there's a partnership. There's a working with energy. One of the things in the house of surrender, which in a way we're surrendering already from the very first house of intention. There's a surrendering into this intention. But a big piece in the house of surrender is the principle of the Hermetic principle of gestation, which is part of the principle of gender. But the principle of gestation says that everything comes in its own time. And to recognize that your project, your vision, your dream, it has its own timeline. It may not be the same as yours. So we have to learn to partner with what that is. And there's so many things. I'm actually in the midst of one of them right now, of looking back over the last few weeks is some things that have happened that I didn't quite understand, or wondering why have I been in a particular frame of mind. And last night in the night, which I hardly slept, but it all came together. It's like, there it is. The manifestation wheel also helps us look at life from that perspective of, we don't always understand how or why things happen when they happen. Yet when we look back, we begin to see how all the pieces were lining up. It was a part of this flow of who we are and the bigger picture of our lives. So in the end, we say that transformational presence it's not a technique or a model or a way to, it's a way of living. Manifestation wheel is a way of living. The more we live in this way, the more we align with our lives, the more we align with the next potential that's waiting to unfold, the more we align with who we are here to be, who we were born to be, and we bring our gifts to the world.
I love all that concept, and something that caught my attention when you were describing the Lakota wheel, and also I remember that it made huge impression on me. There was empowerment house, because empowerment is something that in the modern world, it's something about like pushing yourself into become stronger, or there are a lot of meanings to that, and I guess also people are tired with that word. And that was such a new, fresh approach that you just presented, describing as Lakota wheel, like becoming the best in yourself that is serving the world and everything around. And this is such a huge difference. It's like this moment that energy shifts into doing part, which I loved so much in the story that you created for describing this process.
Yes, because it's power from within. It's this that shows up. It's why we can't empower anybody. That's the pushing of them. That's trying to make something happen. But we can create the culture that helps people find that empowerment within themselves, that helps them to tap in, that supports them to tap in to that power within themselves, to tap into their vision, their understanding of why they're here.
Excellent.
We
Thank you
just
so
need to
much,
pick
Alan.
people up. There's manifestation. It's lifting people up.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Alan. It's a beautiful introduction and beautiful invitation as well to this training or retreat, or once again, I don't know the best word to say, but also, let me express my gratitude that you created that, and we can carry on with this and carry on to the world with this work. So thank you.
I love it that you're doing it as a retreat, that you go away and you take a few days, and that's, wow, what a powerful way to do this work, because things begin to happen. You're creating this cocoon, and the metamorphosis happens inside through this process. So thank you so much for this time, and I wish I could be there with you when you do this workshop, but I will be in my heart. So yeah.
Exactly. That's what I just felt. Thank you so much. And maybe this is a great invitation for everybody that wants to join us in end of September for a retreat with manifestation wheel that we will lead with Patrick. Thank you so much for getting into the depth of it and into this beauty of that you just described.
And thank you so much, Alan and Joanna, for your time, and Alan for sharing your passion. And hopefully see you soon.
And thank you to both of you for all you're doing to bring this work to Poland. So you have my great love. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Patrick, for being the wheel of transformation for our community to step into transformation in Poland through Institute of Transformational Presence. Very great.
Thank you, Joanna, and thank you so much for being our flame. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody. And the most important, thank you, everybody who creates the community in Poland of people who are closer or maybe on a bit distance, but this is because and for them. So thank you so much for everybody who's watching this recording and this interview. Thank you. Bye.